In today's video, we continue our work with one-step equations, but today we step away from solving by addition and subtraction and get into solving by division. Let's look at some equation examples and then some word problems. Number 39, we have the equation that negative 30 is equal to 15b. So we have to get that 15 away from b. But unlike our previous equations, which we can take a quick look at, where our numbers were attached to the variables with plus signs and minus signs, now that 15 is directly attached to the b. It's superglued to it. It's multiplied to it. So how are we going to do the opposite of multiplying by 15? Well, the opposite of multiplication is, of course, division. So we're going to need to divide both sides of our equation by 15. How are we going to show this? Not with the division symbol. There are special cases where it's still allowed to be used, but this is not one of them. So how do we show division in pre-algebra? Hopefully you're thinking fraction bar. Divide by 15. And whatever I do on one side of an equation, I have to do on the other. So both sides will divide by 15. On the right-hand side, 15 divided by 15 is 1. So it's 1b, which is b by itself. On the left side, we actually have a little bit of work to do. So we've got negative 30 divided by 15. A negative divided by a positive will be a negative value. 30 divided by 15, that's not too bad. That's 2. Number 40, we have negative 209 equals negative 19x. You're probably not liking me very much right now. That's okay. How is the negative 19 attached to x? By multiplication. So how will we remove it from the x? By division. We will divide by negative 19, and we'll do that on both sides. We already know that the 19s will each cancel out on the right side, leaving our x alone. What we have to figure out is what is 209 divided by 19? Now, those of you that have good number sense might be able to realize without too much pain that it's 11. And positive 11 because it is negative divided by negative. If you're not so great with your inherent number sense and you're looking at that and going, okay, sure, it's 11. I have no idea how you got that, Mr. Noyd, but it's 11. Well, we can always do long division. 209 divided by 19. How many times does 19 go into 20? Once. 1 times 19 is 19, and we subtract. 20 minus 19 is 1, and then we drop the 9. How many times does 19 go into 19? Once, perfectly. And we have no remainder. So might you occasionally need to break out your long division? Yes. Yes, you might. Your assignment, the quiz, will be on papers like this with just white space. If you prefer to do long division on lined paper, whether that be notebook paper or graph paper that is broken down into blocks, you may absolutely do so, and both types of paper are available on my counter over on the side of the classroom. Let's look at number 41. What are we going to do? Divide both sides by negative 17. Let me switch back over to my main purple. We know that b is going to be alone on the right side because negative 17 divided by negative 17 is gone. And we know that whatever this is positive on the left side because it's a negative divided by a negative. But do we know what 238 divided by 17 is? Yeah, even I'm not 100% certain on this one. I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to write it down until I check it. I will tell you I think it's 14, but let's check. 238 divided by 17. This looks bad, but okay, let's see. 17 is only going to go into 23 once. And when I subtract those two values, 23 take away 17, we get 6. And then we can drop the 8. Now this is a little bit less pleasant, sure, 17 into 68, but think for a second. 17 ends in a 7. 68 ends in an 8. Is there a number that we can multiply 7 by to get a value that ends with an 8? Well, 7 times 2 is 14. That ends in a 4. 7 times 3 is 21. That ends in a 1. 7 times 4 is 28. That ends in an 8. So let's try 4. 4 times 7 is 28. Keeping the 2 in our heads. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 2 we kept is 6. And hey, no remainder. Number 42. We will divide both sides by -8. We know our n is alone. We know our solution is negative because we have a positive 160 being divided by a -8. Now, we could break out long division for this. Or we can think a little bit more strategically. 160. Well, 16, what this starts with, will play well with the 8. So let's take that 0 off of 160 and stick it in our pocket for a second. 16 divided by 8 is 2. Now we can take that 0 back out of our pocket and attach it to the 2 to make 20. If that made sense for you, cool. It's a trick you can do with zeros on the end of numbers. If that confused you, use long division. It won't hurt. Well, it might hurt a little, but it won't lead you astray. It will get you where you need to go. And of course, there will be some word problems. And just like the previous section and just like the next section, I expect to see you write an equation and solve it. Number 43. 6 workers are hired to harvest strawberries from a field. Each is given a plot which is 6 by 5 feet in size. What is the total area of the field? Okay. So the total area of the field is going to be 6 copies of the area that each individual farmer has, or worker, I should say. So the total area is equal to our 6 workers times the area of their plot. And we're actually solving for the total area here. So you just need to figure out what the area of the plot is. So how do you find the area of a plot? Now, when they say 6 by 5 feet in size, they're telling you it's a rectangle that's 6 by 5. So what's the area of this thing? What is the area? What is the amount of space contained inside of this? Hopefully, at some point in time, you've dealt with some basic area work, and a rectangle is one of the simplest shapes we can use. How do we find out how much space is inside of it? By multiplying its sides. So what is the area of one plot? It's 30 square feet. 5 times 6 to make that 30. What's the total area of my field? 6 times 30. Again, I can use that trick with 0. Take the 0, stick it in my pocket. 6 times 3 is 18. Now take the 0 out of my pocket and stick it back on. Okay, that trick of taking away and putting back zeros is great for multiplication and division. It only works with multiplication and division. Last problem. How many packs of batteries can you buy with $25 if one pack costs $5? So $5 times however many packs it costs, or we can purchase, for our $25. $5 per pack is equal to the $25 we have to spend. To solve this, we divide both sides by 5. It's a positive divided by a positive, which means our answer is positive. How many packs can we buy? We can buy 5.